We are ready to begin, so I would like to kindly ask you to take your seat so we can start our today's program. My name is Aneta Zachová and I am editor-in-chief of Euractiv.cz, and I am very happy that I can moderate this very special Prague European Summit. Of course, that all Prague European Summits were somehow special, but this year we have the 10th anniversary. And I'm also very happy that I can moderate this Prague European Summit together with my colleague, Deputy Director of EUROPEUM Institute for European Policy.
Good morning to all of you and welcome.
This high-level conference is organized by EUROPEUM Institute for European Policy and also Institute of International Relations in Prague, in cooperation with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Czech Republic and International Visegrad Fund, with support and cooperation of the representation of the European Commission in the Czech Republic, Hans Seidler Stiftung, and under the auspices of Petr Pavel, the President of the Czech Republic, the Office of the Government of the Czech Republic, and the Ministry of European Affairs, and the Ministry of Industry and Trade and Confederation of Industry of the Czech Republic. Right now, we will quickly go through today's program. So, Viktor, please, could you tell us what to expect from today's program?
As you said, Aneta, it is 10th anniversary edition of the conference. It will be dedicated to the topic of EU's next strategic priorities. We called it Steering the Wheel in New Geopolitical Reality. In other words, all our discussions will revolve around the priorities for the next European Commission after the elections. We will start our program with discussions about support for Ukraine. We will also speak about new strategy towards Russia. We are excited that we will be able to welcome in a short while distinguished guests, also the President of Slovakia, Zuzana Čaputová. The afternoon will be dedicated to economic topics. And I will also invite you for tomorrow, because we will focus there on defense, on enlargement policy. And last but not least, I would like to invite you also to our cultural side events. You all passed an exhibition after the entrance. There is also virtual reality here at the entrance to this hall prepared. And I would also like to invite you to a special screening of Oscar-winning documentary 20 Days in Mariupol, followed by a discussion in Světozor Cinema with distinguished guests from the eastern regions on the front line in Ukraine. You can access the whole program via QR code. You will find the QR code on your badge, so access it anytime you need. And I think that's it from my side, and I think we can start, Aneta.
Thank you for this overview of today's program, and it's the right time to officially start. And I'm very pleased that I can introduce you the Foreign Minister of the Czech Republic, Mr. Jan Lipavský, to open the summit. Please, Mr. Lipavský, the floor is yours.
Madam Vice President, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues and friends, welcome to the Chernin Palace for this 10th Prague European Summit. This forum provides us with the opportunity to approach current European challenges from a combined perspective of governments, think tanks, and media. Last weekend, Europeans voted in the elections that reshaped the composition of the European Parliament. We are at the very beginning of the process of forming the new European Commission. In 2 weeks, Hungary is taking over the presidency of the Council. The results of the last week's election signal that searching for a new majority in the European Parliament might not be easy. The equilibrium between the main political blocs is fragile, yet we do not have a luxury of time. The Russian aggression against Europe is escalating. At the same time, the voters want solution to very complex issues, from climate change to the economic situation and migration, while the interests of different groups of citizens are not always compatible. Up to us to come up with a compromise that would bring on board as many of those interests as possible, which is, after all, the very essence of democratic politics. I wish you all inspiring exchanges, and I look forward to joining you later. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now I would like to pass the floor to representatives of two organizations that are behind the Prague European Summit. Let me now turn it over to Braun, Director of the Institute for International Relations, for his welcoming remarks. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Minister, it's a great honor to welcome you all to Prague European Summit 2024. We have a rich program in front of us with prominent speakers, including decision makers and also experts with detailed insights. As already mentioned, we have planned this event in line with the EU's strategic agenda. In other words, the long-term priorities of the European Council for the next 5 years. During the conference, we will pay specific attention to the EU support for Ukraine, but we will also go into topics such as global trade, EU competitiveness, energy security issues, EU enlargement, and others. Of course, when we scheduled this event, we were firmly aware that all discussions will take place against the background of the elections to the European Parliament last week. If we look at the elections, I would guess some of the speakers might refer to the outcome in one way or another. I would just stress here one single point, that the voter turnout actually continued its upward trend. Okay, it was not such a dramatic difference compared to 5 years ago. I think 0.5% it went upwards. Yet still, it means a higher voter turnout than we had back in 1999, prior to the big enlargement in 2004. And this is important, and the reason why I mention it is because often we see lower voter turnout here in Central and Eastern Europe. This time, in Czechia, the figures were up from some 28 to 36.5%. Now, does that matter? Does voter turnout matter? Well, it's definitely an indication that there is a high interest among citizens in EU affairs. For a long time, it was common sense to speak of a so-called permissive consensus, suggesting that there were a consensual view among main political parties on Europe, and the citizens could afford to ignore what was going on at the European level. I think the relatively high voter turnout means that all discussions on the priorities of the EU need to take into account also a citizen's perspective. Citizens care not only about what decisions are taken, but also about who makes the decisions. This is perhaps nothing new, but it's important to keep in mind, in particular, since in a complex political system as the European Union, citizens cannot always easily see how the compromises that the outcomes by necessity have to be, how they actually reflect their opinions and votes. I think from my personal point of view, that for these compromises to be understood, decision makers need to engage in explaining, in telling the stories about what kind of Europe they want to see, and the narratives that serves to legitimize the decisions that are taken. I will stop here because we have a lot of interesting speakers to look forward to listening to. I will hand over the word to my colleague from a partner institute, Martin Vokálek from EUROPEUM.
Mr. Minister, Madam Vice President, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Please allow me to welcome you also in my name and the name of European Institute for European Policy at the 10th edition of the Prague European Summit, which is the international conference we started already in 2015. As the motto of this year's edition, steering the wheel in the new geopolitical reality, suggests we are meeting at a time when we in Europe decide on our future directions in an ever-changing and challenging world. The EU citizens send a signal in the elections to the European Parliament, and this will shape the upcoming 5 years and the European future itself, with the formation of the next European Commission as one of the steps remaining ahead of us. It is thus timely for us to meet and discuss what kind of Europe and European Union we want, how we want to ensure that the steadfast support for the Ukraine continues and what more can be done, what kind of strategy we want to pursue in the relationships towards Russia, how to ensure that while pursuing the other goods, we remain competitive and make the best of the single market, our resources, and the unique stance in the world, and how we deal with the pressing topics on the table, such as the enlargement and the defense setup. With the aim of the Prague European Summit of the past 10 years, which is to be able to stimulate constructive and engaging discussions of decision makers, experts, and academia about the EU and the Europe in a search of solution to the common challenges, I truly believe that today and tomorrow we are now uniquely placed to do just so. The role of the wider discussions about the future of Europe is more important than ever, and we are honored to be able to contribute to it. Before we do that, let me also please thank and express our gratitude to our main partners, without whom this event wouldn't be possible. Among the institutional partners, it's especially Petr Pavel, the President of the Czech Republic, who bestows his auspices to the Prague European Summit, then our host, the Ministry of the Foreign Affairs of Czechia, the International Visegrad Fund, the European Commission representation in the Czech Republic, Office of the Government in the Czech Republic, Office Hans Seidel Stiftung, Ministry of Trade and Ministry of Industry and Trade. Among the main partners of the Prague European Summit and main media partners of Prague European Summit, there are Saga Prague, Hospodářské noviny, Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, and among media partners of Prague European Summit, we are glad to have Aktuálně.cz, Respect, Czech Radio, Econom, Any Global, and Euractiv. And among the other partners of the conference, we are really happy to welcome Confederation of Industry of the Czech Republic, People in Need, Brains Impressive, Crystal Bohemia, and last but not least, the partner of the Future European Leaders Forum, which is taking place simultaneously with the Prague European Summit, which is the British Embassy to Prague. So please, on behalf of our organizers and those partners, I hope you will find the discussions in the upcoming 2 days engaging, challenging, informative, and insightful. Thank you very much, and please stay here with us.